James, Peter and the Ebionites Part 2. Timeline of extinction. In Part 1, we learned the simple ways in which the believers would practice keeping the Mosaic laws, making sure not one jot or tittle passed away. We learned that they, the Ebionites, used the Gospel of Matthew written in Aramaic. We learned that Peter was well known to have an interpreter named Mark, hence why there is a gospel according to that name, and that the Gospel of Peter is rejected. It's worth noting that even the letters they claim that are from him, Peter 1 and Peter 2, that are canonized, are both written in completely different styles, and again, Peter 2 is cited as a canonized fabrication even, but those that believe in its authorship as guided by the Spirit. So they have a carbon-dated huge piece of the Gospel of Peter dated to 45 CE, which they claim is spurious apocrypha, but the unnamed Gospels and the obviously unauthored Peter books are canonized, which is odd, but we know the reasoning is because the Pauline position is challenged. Even though Paul was at best an unsavoury impious man, let alone inspired with a whole new religion that was the polar opposite to Jesus' message, which he learnt in a Damascus dream, having smashed his head, and who Philip and others took years to grasp. Philip, being a Jew, should know better than to ask to see God when you can't even look at the sun. But these were good-hearted, honest believers. Alas, I digress. The Ebionites rejected Paul and openly considered him an apostate. They rejected the Trinity, the homoousios, the three-in-one, Jesus' divinity, and so on. The belief of the Ebionites fits much closer to that of the Muslims, and we see in the Gospel of Peter that he says clearly that Jesus was lifted up, not died, and didn't fulfill the Jonah sign and dressed as a gardener to hide from the Jews, even though is supposed to be resurrected and you can't die twice, etc. It's interesting to note that Pontius Pilate, possibly the most condemned man in history, according to Peter, was completely innocent, and it was the Jews that condemned the man. Think about it. Jesus was a man of the people, healing the born blind and lepers. He was loved by the people, feeding them bread and fish. He was loved. There was not a person around who didn't know someone that was in awe of the man. Imagine. So naturally, he had good relations with the people, including those in power. It's well known that Pilate has no interest in religious matters with respect. He didn't care. You pay your taxes and you're good. Religious matters, messiahs, they're not interested. So what did the Jews do? They came up with this king theory. It's interesting because even in their Talmud, they speak of hiding witnesses to catch and charge messengers of God with idol worship. And they boast that this is what they don't with Jesus the Nazarene, or Ben Stada, as they call him in the Talmud. Jesus was falsely charged with 3 crimes. 1. Sorcery, 2. Idol worship, and 3. Subversion. In the next part, we will explore more, inshallah.